USS Benfold suffers major power failure in the South China Sea. A U.S. Navy warship equipped with advanced radar, missiles, sensors, and sophisticated combat systems was suddenly forced to stop normal operations after suffering a serious electrical power failure in the South China Sea. USS Benfold, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, lost power while operating at sea, disrupting essential systems and forcing the ship to receive assistance before being towed to the Philippines. But what exactly happened aboard one of America's most important surface combatants? USS Benfold, also known by its hull number DG-65, is an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer operated by the United States Navy. Ships of this class are designed to perform a wide range of missions, including air defense, surface warfare, anti-submarine warfare, missile defense, and support for larger naval formations. However, on July 24, 2026, USS Benfold experienced a serious technical problem while operating in the South China Sea. The incident was classified as an engineering casualty, a term used by the Navy to describe a significant engineering or machinery problem that can affect a ship's ability to operate normally. One of the most important consequences was the loss of electrical power. For a modern warship, electricity is far more than a convenience. It is the foundation that supports many of the ship's critical systems. Power is required for sensors, communications, command systems, machinery, cooling systems, living facilities, and numerous other functions. When the ship's electrical generation system experienced problems, the effects quickly extended beyond its engineering spaces. Essential facilities aboard USS Benfold were affected, including the galley, air conditioning systems, and sanitation facilities. For a crew operating at sea, especially far from a major naval base, the loss of these basic services can create significant operational and living challenges. The incident also reduced the ship's ability to operate normally. Instead of continuing its mission without interruption, USS Benfold required assistance from other elements of the U.S. Navy. USS Robert Smalls provided support, particularly for logistics and basic requirements for the crew. This demonstrated an important aspect of modern naval operations. Warships are not designed to operate completely in isolation. When a ship experiences a serious mechanical or engineering problem, other vessels can provide supplies, assistance, towing, and logistical support. Because USS Benfold required further technical attention, the destroyer was eventually towed toward Subic Bay in the Philippines. The ship arrived at Subic Bay on July 28th, only a few days after the initial engineering casualty. Once at the port, technicians were able to conduct more detailed inspections and repairs. The goal was not simply to restore electricity temporarily, but to determine the cause of the problem and ensure that the ship could safely return to normal operations. A major milestone came on July 30th, when electrical power aboard USS Benfold was restored. However, restoring power did not mean that all repair work was immediately finished. Additional inspections, testing, and technical work were still required to make sure the ship's systems were stable and reliable. The repair process continued for several more days. By August 7th, the technical repairs were declared complete. Then, on August 8th, USS Benfold departed and continued its journey toward Yokosuka, Japan. The timeline shows that the incident ultimately resulted in a temporary loss of operational capability rather than the permanent loss of the ship. Nevertheless, the event highlights an important reality about modern naval warfare. When people think about a powerful warship, they often focus on its weapons. Missiles, guns, radar, electronic warfare systems, and advanced sensors are among the most visible symbols of naval power. But behind those systems is an extremely complex engineering network. Generators, propulsion systems, electrical distribution, cooling systems, pumps, control systems, communications equipment, and numerous auxiliary systems must all work together. If one critical component fails, the effects can spread across multiple areas of the ship. This is why an electrical failure can become a major operational problem, even when the ship's weapons and combat systems themselves are not damaged. A modern destroyer depends heavily on stable electrical power. Without sufficient power, sophisticated systems may have to be reduced, shut down, or operated under restricted conditions. The situation becomes even more difficult when a ship is thousands of kilometers away from its home port. At sea, there are no large maintenance facilities immediately available. A warship carries technicians, tools, spare parts, and maintenance equipment, but major failures may still require assistance from other vessels or a shore-based facility. In USS Benfold's case, the U.S. Navy was able to provide the necessary support and move the ship to a location where repairs could be carried out. Another factor worth considering is the age of the vessel. USS Benfold has been in service for roughly 3 decades. Like any complex mechanical platform, an older ship requires continuous maintenance, inspections, modernization, and replacement of aging components. However, the age of the ship does not automatically mean that the vessel is obsolete or that the Arleigh Burke-class design has failed. The Arleigh Burke-class has been designed for long-term service, with ships undergoing maintenance and upgrades throughout their operational lives. Therefore, the USS Benfold incident is better understood as an example of the challenges involved in maintaining an aging but highly sophisticated warship, rather than proof of a fundamental failure of the technology. The incident also demonstrates why naval readiness depends on more than weapons and combat capability. A warship must be able to keep its propulsion, electrical generation, cooling, communications, and other support systems operating reliably. Even the most advanced missile system is of limited value if the ship cannot maintain the basic power required to support its wider combat architecture. The role of naval support is also clearly visible in this incident. USS Benfold received assistance from USS Robert Smalls and was eventually towed toward Subic Bay. This kind of support capability is an important part of modern naval operations. A fleet's strength is not determined solely by how many destroyers, cruisers, or other combat ships it possesses. It also depends on its ability to recover, repair, resupply, and support vessels that encounter problems during deployment. The location of the incident also makes it notable. The South China Sea is one of the world's most strategically important maritime regions. It is a major international trade route and an area where military activity by several countries is closely monitored. However, there is an important distinction to make. The electrical failure aboard USS Benfold should not automatically be interpreted as the result of enemy action simply because the ship was operating in a geopolitically sensitive area. The available description of the incident points to an engineering casualty rather than a combat attack. The most important lesson is therefore not about an enemy attack, but about the reliability and maintenance challenges facing modern warships. USS Benfold eventually restored its electrical systems, completed repairs, and continued its journey toward Japan. The ship was not lost, and the technical problem did not permanently remove it from service. Instead, the incident became a real-world example of how even advanced naval vessels can experience serious mechanical problems far from their home bases. Ultimately, modern naval power depends on much more than missiles, radar, and advanced sensors. It depends on generators that continue producing power, engines that continue running, cooling systems that remain stable, electrical networks that remain reliable, and highly trained crews and technicians capable of responding when something goes wrong. The USS Benfold incident serves as a reminder that technological superiority is not simply about having the most advanced weapons. It is also about reliability, maintenance, logistics, and the ability to recover from unexpected failures. After receiving repairs in the Philippines, USS Benfold continued toward Yokosuka on August 8, 2026. The incident was ultimately resolved, but it highlighted a fundamental reality of modern naval warfare.